Welcome to this episode of Vote Like a Texan. I'm excited to be in Llano County talking to the candidate for Llano County Judge, Rob Hardy. Llano County is famously up on Lake LBJ and northwest of Austin, Texas, and a jewel in the Hill Country. I'm excited to talk to you today, Rob, and understand Llano County and what has you running for judge today.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Justin. And again, I'm Rob Hardy, and I would characterize myself as a reluctant politician. This was really not on my radar, but this is, as you mentioned, we see ourselves as the jewel, the gem of the Hill Country, and the county judge, Judge Ron Cunningham, decided not to run for a third term. He has huge boots to fill. You think in 8 years, what's happened to not just our county, but our country? COVID, out here, Snowmageddon. We had disastrous floods. We've had a large lawsuit in our libraries here. So, and our county is growing. We have been discovered, and we're a county of approximately 24,000 people now with 3 incorporated cities and 1 very large unincorporated area that sits on Lake LBJ, partially on Lake Buchanan, and right in the gateway to the Hill Country. It's a beautiful place, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this was I believe I still have some time to serve, and this is a great community, full of volunteers. The staff are great. We have a fantastic sheriff, so it's a great place to be.
Well, and I appreciate your public service as you're also a mayor in one of the cities in Llano County today. Running for judge does change that dynamic. Going from city government, city leadership into county leadership is a very distinct role. Can you help me understand what the judge role in Texas is?
Certainly. And I'm going to refer to a note, if you don't mind.
No, please.
There really are 5 pretty broad duties of a constitutional judge in the state, of any county judge, and I'll make that differentiation. So first one is really the county judge is the CEO of the county. They supervise department heads, roads and bridges. They're the county budget officer. That's really the second really big role. What's really interesting about being the presiding officer in a county is you are controlling the budget of people that are elected that don't report to you. Very unique. And I know I've looked back in the past, and it has caused, not so much here, but it can cause some dissension and friction. But one of the other duties is the county judge here in Llano County has judicial functions. So we do not have a county court at law. We have county attorneys. And what that means is the way the justice system works, you start at the municipal court level. Those are typical Class C misdemeanors. Then you get to the justice of the peace. So the justice of the peace is they see misdemeanor cases as well, plus quite a few civil issues. They handle evictions and things like that. And then county court law, which we do not have, sees Class A misdemeanors. And so that's Class A, Class B, Class C, as well as some civil functions. So that's what the county judge does here in Llano County. Class A misdemeanors, that typically is something like DWIs, child support issues. There's things like that. Civil are things like probate. They can actually do marriages. And what's unique in those 3 levels is the presiding judge does not have to be an attorney in the state. Typically in a municipal court, a court of record, they are. But here you do not have to be a county judge. However, once you get in office or elected, and of course we're looking at primaries that are literally 7 weeks from today,
Right.
so put that on your calendar, then that person, whoever gets elected to be county judge, is required to have at least 32 initial hours of training under the Texas State Judicial Commission. And then subsequent training every single year after that. It's intimidating, I will tell you, to a non-attorney. I've been going to watch our existing county judge in his chambers and the type of things he sees. And it is, the good thing is you have county attorneys, you have a large county attorney department that's your help with that. Another big role of the county judge is emergency management. Um, that's a huge role out here. As you know, you mentioned, obviously Kerr County and where we are, the whole hill country is subject to all kinds of environmental issues. My background is in emergency medical service and healthcare and public health, so hopefully I have some of that. But that's a big role of the county judge. Um, Elections and appointments. The county judge sets the tone of the elections as far as dates. They supervise the election coordinator, whatever that title is for that person. We have a very good one here in Llano County. And it's a very complex role. And you figure that all counties in Texas by state statute have 4 precincts, but they have multiple precincts of voting precincts. For instance, Llano County actually has 11 voting precincts. So those are unique to those areas, and so that's a big role of the county judge. And finally, the county judge is responsible for keeping track of what's going on at the state level. I know our county judge, which I hope to emulate, goes to Austin quite often and keeps in contact with our state representative, our state senator, the governor's office. It's a very integral role, and I will tell people the closer you get to the people, which is municipal government and county government, the more it can affect your life.
Well, that's the importance of local elections, and I appreciate you mentioning it that way and reminding us that the primary election early voting starts February 23rd. March 3rd is election day for primaries, and that's where Texans can be heard at their fullest voice. That's where you're making a decision of who's going to represent you. But it's not just that primary election. It could easily go into a runoff in May and then finally the election in November. And I want to encourage people listening to put all of those dates on their calendar and ensure they're out there voting because to your point, it's the local elections, it's the school board, it's the tax appraisers, it's all of those local servants that you're voting for in off-cycle elections. It doesn't just have to be there's a presidential, I need to go vote. Um, there's voting that happens throughout almost every year in Texas, and engaged citizens need to come out and have their voices heard.
Yeah, no question, and learn what your candidates, what their stance is. Visit with them. We're very fortunate, a county this size. You can meet your candidates very personally and know them. And everybody I know, of course, social media is big. Um, Most people, everybody has a Facebook page. I have a website, and you learn a little bit about people, but more importantly, talk to them. There's always forums. I think I have 7 scheduled in the next 7 weeks where I will be meeting people and talking about, what's important to them. Because at the end of the day, we're only here for one thing, and that's to represent the citizens and what they want.
Well, and that's what I want to make sure all the demographics that live in Llano County are coming out and they're coming to your events and they're understanding that if you're 19 years old or 80 years old, your voice is very important in the conversation because it's defining the future of your county. When I think of the CEO of the county, the judge in Texas, there's also the commissioner's court.
Mhm.
And between those 5 individuals, you're really seeing everything that happens at the local level and having impact on it. And it starts with creating the environment for success and ensuring that health, safety, and wellness is the number one priority in your county.
Well, and you mentioned earlier a really very telling comment regarding interlocal agreements. And one of the things that when I became mayor in Sunrise Beach, realized that really no one had gone to commissioner's court on a regular basis. They had gone, most certainly,
Mhm.
but those folks make decisions that affect us. And, one of my goals is to make sure the city councils of Sunrise Beach, of Llano, and Horseshoe Bay are fully heard at the county level and making sure that what their needs are because it's their folks that are going to be calling them, not us directly. But you're right. The commissioners are very, very important in each precinct. They're pretty much they control things in their precinct.
In unincorporated county land, they are your representative. And that can be a lonely place for that representative because it's one voice up against, to your example in Kingsland, 8 or 9,000 people in unincorporated county. That's a lot of need. That's a lot of feedback. It's a lot of planning that goes into it, and it happens at the county level in that situation. What does the future of Llano County look like? I know it's been discovered, and I know Texas statewide, we're seeing tremendous growth. Is that what we're seeing in Llano as well?
I wouldn't say tremendous growth. We just got there's a department in the state called the Department of Census, and
Mhm.
they send out information on a yearly basis. So inside of the 10-year census area. And so we just got the growth rates for the county. And the county's grown since the last census in 2020, 9.1%. Um, that's a big growth.
Yeah.
What we have to do is make sure that we're out ahead of it. I've seen communities that they allow people to do things to them. I'd much rather get out ahead of that, and we can dictate our future. We want to embrace change. There's no question it's going to happen, so we might as well not ignore it. But we can do that in a controlled and logical way that protects our environment and this beautiful community we live in.
Looking at that beautiful community, we've talked a little bit about fire safety and ESD, but I think that from a county judge standpoint, we saw it in Kerr County over the summer. We see it, unfortunately, every year where the news cameras show up for whatever reason. And we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about people, we're talking about safety. In the hill country, a lot of tourists come out, a lot of people that aren't familiar with a volunteer fire department or in some cases volunteer EMS.
Mhm.
And that's quite a distinction on the level of service you can expect if you break your arm somewhere. And can you help us understand the county judge's role in planning for that and thinking about it?
Certainly. I'll use the example of the floods this last summer.
Mhm.
And even though that was in Kerr County, the majority of it, our lake and our river came up dramatically. I'm part of the volunteer fire department. We were dispatched to get people off of Lake LBJ. We were told there was a 10-foot wall of water coming down imminently. And back to your question, so what the county judge does, and Judge Ron Cunningham, our existing judge, has been great at this. His background is public safety, and he's created new interlocal agreements. So I'll give you an example. That morning of July 4th, I'm the emergency coordinator for my city. So I called LCRA and said, "What do you want me to do?" And they said, "Well, we got 25 people in here trying to decide. You need to do what's best for your city." So I immediately closed all of our boat ramps and notified Judge Cunningham in the Emergency Operations Center. Every time we go through one of these things, we get better at it, and we learn more about the capabilities of the departments. You mentioned people coming out here and being used to an urban level of response. We actually have an extremely high level of, especially EMS response. There's a lot of folks that are volunteers. The nice thing about being in a kind of an older community is you have volunteers that have been paid people in other departments and come out here and volunteer. We have an excellent EMS service. Now, I will say, in a county that's bigger than Travis County, we have 4 ambulances, and
Wow.
one of them is in Kingsland, which runs more calls than the other 3 put together on an average monthly basis, because of the size of the community. So, transport times, response times are much different than people would expect in an urban community. First responder times, on the other hand, tend to be very, very good.
It's great to hear, and I know it's a Rubik's cube of planning and solving for and being ahead of it. My final question as we wrap up our conversation and introduction to Llano County is I see a lot of counties that are operating without a documented strategic plan. And in the city, you have a master plan typically,
Mhm.
but in a county, you can't have a master plan. It's outside the statute, but
Correct.
you can have a strategic plan for Llano County. What does that look like, and how do you keep that continuity of service, but still implement new ideas and new direction?
That's probably the $64 question. Everything's driven by metrics. So we have to make sure, I'll use the sheriff's department, which is the largest department, obviously, in our county, because it encompasses the jail as well. And you have to look at things like response times, types of calls, number of calls. We have a great, I was about to say burgeoning, but it's not. It's already here. Mental health crisis in not just Llano County, and it's being able to respond to people that need help. I'm the vice chair of the hospital board for Llano Regional Hospital, and one of the things that hospitals that are run by counties, which are a lot of places in Texas, um, we're responsible for basically being all things to all people insofar as we can with the size that we and the resources that we have. So that's another big piece that the county judge and our county judge, Ron Cunningham, has been great at supporting our hospital. We took it back over as a county-led entity, created a new 3-person board last February. And so healthcare is a big priority both for me as well as for the citizens of this county.
Well, Rob Hardy, I appreciate your public service today. I am encouraged that you're running for this role and want to remind everybody again that this election really happens March 3rd. And that's true of any primary election across the state. If you have more than one person running for that party's position,
Mhm.
then this is when your voice is heard. If you vote after March 3rd, you're getting what your neighbors said, not what you said exactly. So I want to encourage people to come out. Early voting, I know locally for me starts February 23rd. I believe that's the same for you.
Yes.
And skip the lines. Come out and make it easy. Vote and then move on and let's get through March 3rd and decide what happens next.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it, Justin.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do. It's been a pleasure to get to know you, your communities, and the people you serve. And I hope you have a great week.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Have a good day.
Thank you.